the meeting of the October the 2nd special session of the Board of Aldermen of Bolivar, Missouri is now in session. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Yes, please call the roll.
Moores. Price.
Present.
Ballard. Ross.
Here.
Sagasser.
Here.
Raines.
Here. Neal.
Present.
Wilson.
Present.
With 6 present, we do have a quorum. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm entertaining a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
The aye and opposed say no. The ayes have it. We have adopted the agenda. So tonight we have our special guest. They're representing Liberty Electric or Liberty Utilities. And just want to say welcome and that the meeting will be orderly and hospitable and professional. And I want to assure everyone on the board that you will have all the opportunity to say whatever you wish. So with that said, we will invite our first guest from Liberty and have you introduce yourself. And I'm not sure exactly where to begin, but I guess you will begin.
I will begin. Yes, thank you. Thank you for having us. I do have some handouts. Is it okay for me to
Of course.
go ahead and... Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, there you
Perfect.
Thank you.
go. May I ask the first order of your business to introduce your colleagues?
Yes, absolutely. I will start with myself. My name is Jordan Bollinger. I am the Senior Manager of Key Accounts for Liberty Utilities. Basically what that means is that myself and my group is the one responsible for holding the relationships with our key accounts. Those are going to include school districts, municipalities, and our large industrial customers. So you would normally see Tracy Slagle here. Tracy works for me with her health conditions. I am in her place today. With me, I have Chris Schaefer. Chris Schaefer is the Senior Manager of Construction Planning. He is in the Ozark area. I have Diana Carter. She is our Director of Legal Services. And Charlie Evans. And Charlie Evans is the Director of Rates and Regulatory.
Welcome all. Thank you for making the trip down. I think one of you made quite a long trip to be here.
We have one from Jackson and one from Columbia, so we have a couple of them
Yes,
that
long
made the
trip.
trek here.
And
Yeah,
one from
absolutely. And one from Ozark. I'm from Joplin, so Joplin is my main territory that I serve in my key account role. So we're here tonight to talk about the municipal street lighting service agreement. The main points, I guess, what I kind of want to start and open up with is I want to make sure that everyone understands that this is just a renewal of an agreement that we have always had on file between the city and Empire District Electric Company, now known as Liberty. What this entails is the cost for the street lighting. So there's 2 parts to the street lighting. The first is going to be the energy charge, and the second is going to be the facilities usage charge. So the energy, if you can kind of think of that, it's the energy, the kilowatt hours that those bulbs, whatever type of bulb it is actually pulling. The second part is the facilities usage charge, and that is the cost of the total investment in the system. So I believe the total investment is right around 400. I apologize, I don't have that. I know you guys have that in front of you. It's 9% of our total investment. So as you'll see within the MESA agreement, we list in Article 5 that total investment that we've done, and then we list there the annual charge. That annual charge is seen on the street lighting bill as the excess facilities. I'm happy to take questions if there are already questions.
I'm
Do-
really sorry. We don't have the agreement in front of us. Is there any way we could get that? Thank you, Paula. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Nope, that is good. So the main reason, oh, sorry.
Let her speak.
So the reason why I'm here is in order to qualify for the SPL, which is the street lighting tariff, which is a discount on the street lighting, we do have to have a
of the agreement. We were visited earlier and we talked about, we bought the juice and then we bought the stuff. And both charges for the juice and the stuff, you would be willing to let us sign a 2-year agreement.
So we would allow the city to work with their attorney and put in front of us any kind of red line agreement that you would like for us to look at to see if we would be able to operate under.
Certainly, okay. Okay. Mr. Ross, go ahead, please.
So on this municipal street lighting service schedule, like the SPL says availability, this schedule is available in municipalities served by a company on the provisions of the electric franchise having an original term of not less than 10 years. And then of course having an original term of not less than 2 years. So what you're saying is we don't have to follow the term of not less than 10 years part of it?
So that is regarding the franchise.
Okay.
That's a separate agreement, and we would be up for renewal on that one in 10 years. So that's a 20-year agreement. So we would come back in 10 years and ask for a renewal of the franchise. So the only thing that we would be working on within that tariff is that 2 years. You would have to have a minimum of 2 years.
Mr. Wilson.
Quick question, I'm sorry, and maybe I read the first letter from Tim Wilson. I'm guessing he's the president. From my point of view, it seemed like he said you have 2 options, that's what you get. But now I'm hearing you say, hey, there's 2 options, but now we're kind of willing to work with you. Can you kind of explain what changed or why I might be feeling that way?
I cannot speak for the letter. What I can tell you is that if you would have reached out to us and you would have said, hey, we would like to look at possibly just doing a 2-year extension, because it would still qualify you per our tariff language, then we would have worked to do that. So I apologize, I cannot speak to the letter. But hopefully what the letter did advise of is the part that if you were not to renew the agreement, which is really what we wanted to talk to, and that is regarding the total cost that would increase on the streetlights because we would have to move you over to the private lighting tariff.
And just for clarification, that number, I think it's 129,000. Yeah, 129,000. We'll just say round it up. That is the most that you guys can charge, or is that what you guys will charge?
No, I believe what you're talking to is probably what would have came to you looking like this. We have since made some changes, so that's why I wanted to provide you with this. So we can go through this real quickly. Anything that's highlighted, that was an original error in the calculation. So you can see there, like on the 20,000 lumen, where we changed it to 329.28. Originally, it was inadvertently grabbed the MV flood rate. So that rate was originally incorrect on the first thing that we provided. That's the same. There are 3 more highlighted items below. So those have been updated since we would have provided you with the first spreadsheet. So our most conservative annual additional cost that we have figured here would be about $84,000 more a year.
And I'm not trying to be rude. Being an alderman, you get calls from everybody, and I think you guys understand.
Absolutely.
And you guys have bosses. Our bosses are the citizens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they come to us and say, "This is what we want. This is what we expect. Go do the job." The biggest complaint that I get from my constituents are with Liberty, and I'm not trying to be rude, is the billing's always off. They have an issue. You guys came in March this last year and said, "Hey, we have an issue." You know, now we've got stuff to make a decision on. Hey, what do we do for our constituents? But now we're getting a note paper saying, "Yeah, we're still making mistakes." Everybody makes mistakes, right? And I've had my few. But I think this is what our constituents are really frustrated about. You know, and again, I'm not saying it's at you.
Uh-huh.
It's the company in whole. But when I have constituents saying, "Why do we want to do business with that if they can't get my electric bill right?" And then we're getting information now of, "Hey, the contract is 130, but now we're saying, now it's only 84." It's kind of frustrating, and it's kind of, this is what we're getting told by our constituents. So where you guys said in March, "Hey, we're going to fix these issues." What have you guys done to fix these issues? Like, can you kind of elaborate on that? And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude. Or put you on the
I
spot.
understand that you're not trying to be rude. The only reason why I posit that is because that's not my arena to
Sure.
speak to the specifics.
I mean,
what
in
I
March
can
you-
tell you is that our exception numbers for billing are dropping. So if you are still hearing a lot of complaints at the level that they were, then I would say that that would concern me too, because we are.
We are 100%, and I'm not trying to interrupt you, but the frustrating thing is this is why we're here today, is because of, you know, you guys brought some guy from, you know, natural gas our last meeting. Last time I checked, we don't have natural gas. You know, I'm glad you guys are bringing the top dogs now of this area, but in the same aspect of, we're getting complaints still. Hey, my bill's not right. How do we justify this? And so that's where I'm at.
The only thing that I can say to you is that we are constantly a work in progress since the change, and we are seeing that things are getting better.
Sure.
So if you were to choose to not do business with us, then I would say we would be increasing your statement. I mean, that's true. That's really and truly, that's last case. That's worst case scenario. That's not at all what we want. What I would also ask is that if you are hearing complaints, those can be sent to me directly.
Sure.
I can be somebody who can step in and assist you. So if there are issues happening, if there are streetlights that are out, I would say please report those to me and let me see if I can help.
Sure.
So that's my question back to you is, are you giving us the opportunity to identify the mistakes and try to make them right?
Sure. You know, everybody has a whole bunch of questions, so I apologize for taking all the time. I'm trying to figure out how to word this right. I'm going to give you an option to be me for one minute, okay? My last conversations, and I got 2 texts that I really want to see how you would react as I would. The first question I get was, why would I want to do business with somebody being investigated by the state for improper billing? The second question I always get is kind of a statement of, why would I want to pay a company? I'm just going to bring it up, I'm sorry. Why? Here's the exact statement. I would rather have street dark than give Liberty more money. How would you respond in my capacity?
I would say that's a huge public safety issue that you would not want to take on from a PR perspective, as well as increasing the amount by not entering the contract and by not working alongside us as a partnership and holding us accountable for making sure that we're getting better.
And what about the first question?
Why would you want to pay us more if you didn't feel like we were, or the investigation?
Yeah.
Diana, would you like to provide a?
Actually, there's
Could-
a couple things.
Yes, if you want to speak, please step forward, and because we're being streamed.
Hi. Yeah, I think we're going off in a way.
Would you want to identify yourself again, please, ma'am?
Yes, as Jordan introduced me, I'm Diana Carter. I'm the Director of Legal Services here in the Central Region. I served as outside counsel for Empire for 15 plus years as a partner in a law firm, and then I came in-house. I absolutely love Empire. I always have. It was my dream to get to be an Empire employee. So about 5 years ago, I came in-house as a lawyer there. I would like to just back up and address Mr. Wilson. He's been holding something saying it's an error, and he doesn't know why you'd want to pay a company that would send an error like that. So that was sent and titled as draft for discussion purposes only, with the message explaining these are draft calculations because we were trying to be as responsive as we could as quickly as possible. Please note that the analysis is not yet complete. My operations folks tell me that the new cost will be higher than what is shown here once everything is taken into account. Also, we have the gentleman here who accidentally pulled those 3 wrong numbers. If you'd like an apology specifically from him.
I apologize, for guys, just so you're aware. So I got-
Sir, we are being streamed, and we want all this to be public. Thank you, sir.
Sure thing. Chris
And-
Schaefer,
Yes.
with Liberty. I'm the Senior Manager of Construction Planning. And so my group basically...
And the son of a high school classmate or high school
Yeah, my dad went to school with you. And my
football
grandpa
player.
Peyton was the BOAG teacher here in Bolivar. So what happened was they called me up and kind of told me what was going on. And, and of course, I knew immediately, I was like, well, that's not good for the city because it's going to cost you guys more money if we don't have the mason in place. And then we have to go and put you guys on a PL rate. And so I kind of rushed and got numbers. Well, one of the things, if you look at the spreadsheets on the tariff, so the pricing for the SPL tariff does not have any floodlighting in it. But then the PL does on the private lighting. And so as I was going back and forth, that's where I had the error on the 1 mercury vapor light and then the 2 LEDs. And then the one bottom one there, we don't really have a rate in the PL for what we call the LED 3. And that's why I picked the closest rate that we had.
Sure.
And that's why I
and
put
where
that
is
in
that,
there.
sir?
So that would be on the last yellow column there, the
Yes.
447.
Okay.
So many apologies. It was, no intent. Like Diana stated, we were trying to get something to you guys as quick as possible because we knew it was in the interest of the city to be paying less.
And I just want to clarify.
Yes.
I'm not asking you to apologize to me. or
No,
the
and I
board.
realize that, but I wanted to apologize.
Sure. I'm just telling you why our constituents
Sure.
are where we're at this moment.
Yeah.
It's not because, again, we make mistakes. I understand we want to get this out to you as soon as you can so you have some numbers.
Sure.
But when the whole town and constituents are saying, this is our issue with what we're at right now, that is what I'm trying to convey.
And I totally understand, and we've been working our hardest with the SCP that we've taken on,
Sure.
the software that was kind of put onto us by the whole company, and it was to the benefit of the whole company. And it's been a lot of trials, and we've worked many extra hours, I will let you know. My department, Jordan's department, our legal, we all have our customers, best intentions at heart. I mean, because you guys are who we work for, in a sense. You talked about how you guys work for the citizens. Well, we work for the citizens too. We want to provide you guys, reliable power, street lights to light up your streets, and the security and the safety that brings to the city of Bolivar.
Thank you. Is that all, Mr. Wilson, for the moment?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
I do too.
Mr. Ross, yes.
Oh, Ashley had her hand up for a while.
You want to go first, Ashley?
It is my understanding that our staff attempted to reach out to Liberty to give us numbers on what it would mean if we did not renew and what the cost would be, and we never received responses.
No, that's what,
No.
now that's the difference in price that they're talking about.
Right, so from my understanding, before we had this full discussion and decided what we decided last meeting or 2 meetings ago, whenever it's been, I've lost track because we've had so many discussions about this. We asked staff to reach out and ask Liberty about the pricing difference, correct? And Liberty did not respond?
No, they did. That's what Brian, Mr. Wilson was talking about earlier, the initial.
That was after.
after.
But before. I'm asking about before.
Prior to our failure to renew the
Oh,
agreement.
correct.
We were trying to ascertain what the financial difference would be if we renewed versus whether we didn't renew. I don't know whether staff was explicitly directed to seek that information from Liberty or just to do its best attempt to figure those numbers out. So can you speak to whether Liberty was contacted or were you attempted to contact and make an
Not until the
estimate,
board directed me to do so.
which was
After.
we
Okay.
declined to renew.
After.
Thank you for confirming.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant talking about the
No.
recent number.
No, before because we wanted to know.
When we made that
numbers.
initial decision, we wanted
Yes.
to have an idea of the price tag.
Okay, thank you.
Because I remember he specifically said we had the per street light number, and you explicitly came to us and said it's this number minimum plus whatever.
Correct.
So of the two columns that Ms. Bollinger has talked about, like one of the columns we knew, and the other column was a question mark. Is
That's correct.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, I misunderstood you.
That's all right.
yeah.
Thank
So that was, and my understanding was that was based on consulting like PSC documentation and things like that, not based on communications with Liberty.
That's correct.
Sorry, I didn't
All
mean
right.
to hijack your.
No,
Mr.
thank you.
Ross. Or would,
I just
Alderman
have
Price?
one question.
Go ahead.
Maybe two questions. Do we have an inventory on what poles and lights Liberty owns, the city owns? Does MoDOT overlap in any way in any of this?
I can't speak to MoDOT, unfortunately. Chris
We'd like
might
an
be able to
inventory
speak
list
to
if there
that.
is
But we do have maps.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we have an SA22. So anytime there's a light that's installed or there's a light that's changed, there's an SA22 that is sent to the city and signed. So we do have all of those documents that we could,
Paula, do we have that? Yeah,
We sign those every time there's a change.
okay.
Not a lot.
No problem. I think part of what my colleagues were talking about was we asked for, I think it was Don and Thomas, to go to Liberty to see if there was a negotiation that could be had. And we were told that Liberty declined to negotiate. So when you said, if you had come to us and said you wanted a 2-year, I consider that a negotiation. And the board did direct questions to be given.
The only thing that I can speak to is that Diana and I had a conversation with Thomas and with Donald, and it went really well. We explained what the agreement was and how to put it in front of the council. And so I will say it caught me by surprise to hear that that you guys were not in favor. I won't say it caught me by surprise. I won't say that you guys are not in a tough spot with your constituents, as you alluded to. But I will say that that was
I got
unexpected.
the feeling that Liberty's response, I can't say for certain that this was Liberty's response, but this was the impression I got. This is the Mesa agreement. Please sign it or don't.
I apologize. I don't know that I can speak to anything else on that. We do present it to you that this is the Mesa agreement. This is what we signed 10 years ago. This is pretty standard. So it would have not, again, if we would have known that there would have been the issue that there was at the last board meeting, we would have loved to have talked through that a little bit more. And we could have talked about, let's do a lesser term if that is what would satisfy you and would make you guys feel comfortable. It would give you time to, if you wanted to do your own study, to see if you wanted to do your own streetlights. We would have been open to that.
Okay, I'll let Dusty.
Mr. Ross.
All right, thank you. So, kind of one of my questions. So, you guys don't have it with you how many streetlights Liberty owns,
The
how many
inventory.
streetlights the city owns. You don't know that off the top of your head of.
Off the top of my head, I can tell you that we are billing you for 811 streetlights, and then I can tell you the 52 is what we have as municipal owned.
Okay. Do you have a breakdown of where those are at? I'm assuming probably all on Aldridge Road.
Sir, I'm sorry. I hate to pester
We
you,
know-
but this is streaming, and we want a complete record of it. Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
I do know there were several subdivisions that were noted as having municipal-owned lights.
Yeah, there's some new stuff coming along that Rick Bellaw's been working on some stuff.
So like, for example, Aldridge Road, which I think we got a grant to redo Aldridge Road. And there's 56 streetlights on Aldridge Road that are independently on poles. I was under the impression the city owned those because that was covered under the grant. So, I mean, if you're saying the city owns 52 or 54, Aldridge Road alone has more lights than that. So does Liberty own some of them?
So
The city
I'm going to
owns?
speak completely out of turn here. I believe that there is a street lighting on Aldridge, but I believe it's separately metered. I do not believe that it is part of the Mesa, but I would like to confirm that.
Okay,
So I'll be able to pull up mapping
So
and
it's
pull up service
811,
agreements.
But the lights on Aldridge Road may not be included in that 811.
So how do we know?
That is
what we're spending?
correct with regards to Aldrich Road.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So is there any way that we could nail down, figure out like how many the city actually owns and how many Liberty actually owns? Okay.
Yep.
Do you know how many are privately owned? By privately owned, I mean like if I'm a homeowner and I say I want a street light out here, but the city's like, oh, that doesn't meet city ordinance because it's too close
Sure.
or whatever. They can, from what I believe, reach out to you guys and pay to have a pole put in and a light put in. Do we know how many of those lights in town are privately owned?
Right now, no, but that would be easy for me to find
Okay.
out. So that is something I can follow up with.
Okay, so got a couple
Go
more.
ahead. No, go ahead.
So you had mentioned like a partnership with the city. I think you had started to say it. What is your definition of a partnership?
My definition of a partnership is working together.
Sure.
So
like-
what I would like, so for me, what that means is I'm coming to you and I'm standing in front of you. And what I'm doing is I don't know a lot of what has happened in the past between Bolivar and Empire. I don't know if there's things that have happened that we need to hash out and make sure that we're all on the same page on. What I'm asking for is to be treated in a manner where I'm going to have the opportunity to make changes if there's things that need changes.
So when
So
you
if there are
say-
issues, then I would like for them to brought to me so
when
that
you
I
say
can help you.
Empire, do you mean Liberty, DBA? Empire? Do you mean like Empire prior to 2017 when Liberty?
I'm saying all of it. So we still consider ourselves
So
Empire.
I'm assuming the issues that we have, like Alderman Wilson. I get calls all the Liberty is the number one complaint that I hear. I can't go anywhere without somebody saying like Liberty's terrible. I can't go a day without being tagged on social media with Liberty is terrible. I would love to, don't get me wrong. And so, the partnership is, to me, a partnership is, hey, it's a mutual benefit. When we say this is your choice or this is your choice, you can enter into an agreement with a company that our constituents do not want us to enter into an agreement with, or we can almost double your price. Like that, hey, that's not really a great partnership. And so the next question I have is, do you know when the last time Liberty sent the city of Bolivar a complete and accurate bill?
Hopefully it will be in just a couple of weeks.
Sure, but I mean like
When
the
was the
last
last
time.
I cannot speak to that.
So I can tell you, I think it's been 9 months since we haven't gotten a complete and accurate bill. So when we talk about billing issues, sure, we can talk about our constituents that reach out all the day. The city is one of those that we haven't gotten. And so one of our main focuses is making a budget. And when we don't get a bill, like how are we going to budget next year for, well, how much electric did the rec center cost? Now, don't take this the wrong way. We're going to solar at the rec center. Hey, that's great because that's going to cut our bill like $80,000, $90,000. Now, so the police department, the fire department, city hall, we can't tell you how much we need to budget for that because we don't get an accurate bill.
And again, this is where I would say, anytime that William has reached out to me and said this doesn't look right on the bill, I've been able to make things happen to get a bill or to get it fixed. So again,
I understand and I appreciate that, but at what point in time, if I go to a business and they ring me up wrong for 9 months in a row, hey, every time I go back, they fix it. Well, eventually I'm going to stop going back because they're ringing me up wrong for 9 months in a row. We don't have an option, from what it sounds like, to not go back to that business. And that's the frustrating part is our options are sign a multi-year contract or pay twice, or almost twice what we're paying now. So another question, do we have any other option? In your mind, does the city of Bolivar have any other option other than one of the two options you have put in place?
I would say that those are the only two options, unless you wanted to take over the streetlights on your own and you wanted to buy us out of our facilities and you wanted to have all of those services metered.
Now, would Liberty be interested in selling? Because the last time we had a meeting, the guy sat right here and the first opening words were...
Streetlights are a little bit different than the electrical
Okay.
distribution system.
So, I mean, that's an avenue that we can explore. Could the city put in solar lights?
I'm sure that you could.
Okay, and then that would negate anything that we have with, now, again, I'm assuming it's gonna be a high cost, but if we, so I'm just looking at that. Let me see here. Last question. What's the benefit that Liberty gets from having, like, if we don't sign with you, we're paying $80,000-$90,000 more a year. What's the benefit you guys get from having a contract with us?
So again, that goes back to the fact that we are a publicly, that we're governed by the Missouri Public Service Commission. So we are acting as our tariff says that we have to act. And that is that we have to have at least agreement of a minimum of 2 years in order to charge you these prices.
But
so
if
we are acting as our tariff states.
Sure, but if we don't have that agreement, you can actually charge us
Then we would charge you
more.
based on the
So
private lighting tariff.
what is the benefit to Liberty to having an agreement? If you could charge us more...
Because it might, you might not believe me, but the last thing we want to do is raise your prices. The last thing that we want to do is send you a bad bill. The last thing that we want to do is to be in this situation that we're in right
But
now.
you've been in that situation for 2 years almost. I mean, when you guys came in here in March, you showed up and you said, hey, in March it was, the bills were started in April of last year. And you even said in that meeting, you knew that there was going to be issues before you rolled out the new software. You rolled out the software and you didn't even tell the customers there was an issue until October. And you knew there was going to be an issue before you rolled out. You didn't roll it out until October. You told us when you were here in February or March, you were hoping to have it resolved by April. Here we are now. I had a conversation with somebody 2 days ago who was on automatic pay with Liberty. It's supposed to come out the 10th of every month. Liberty has been taking it out 15 days after that and then charging them a late fee on top of that. Like, I've had that conversation with multiple people in the last 2 or 3 days.
And I would love the opportunity to have that customer's name so that I can get that fixed and make
so
sure that
when
that
you
doesn't
guys-
happen.
When you guys were here last time, when you guys show up for a rate hearing or the town hall, I will, and this is going to sound interesting coming from me, I will give you guys kudos because you bring a ton of customer service representatives, and they sit out there and everybody I talk to was like, they're awesome to deal with. Well, then you guys leave, and I even say, like, hey, could maybe once a month you have 6 representatives in your office? Hey, we'll look into it. Here we are 7 months later, hasn't happened. We talked about the call center, well, we're getting bogged down with calls. Well, you guys outsourced your call center, and I guess that was a debacle because you said you hired like 50, 55 people and they didn't know
Early
how to
on,
talk,
yes.
and so it's one of those. I don't know that anybody doesn't want to be a partner, but the problem is when you keep getting burned by your partner, when you're paying more for rates and all this other stuff, that's where we have our issue. And you guys continually drop the ball and you come in and say, hey, we're working on it. We're going to get it fixed. I would love to believe you, but I've heard that now for a year and a half. And now you have a rate case that's, I think it's, what is it, 50?
February.
How much percent are you guys asking to raise the electric rate? Is it 58 or 39 or 39? And so if that gets raised up, does our street light tariff, does that include it in? So our street lights are going to go up potentially 39%. Now, does the do
Do they both go up at the
do
same
they
rate?
both go up at the same rate, or does just the agreement go up? Does the non-agreement go up 38, 39% if it goes up, or is it just the one side?
No, both of the tariffs. So whenever we go into a rate case, we look at each of our pricing plans, and each of those are more than likely going to change. So we did confirm that yes, both the private lighting.
Sorry, Jordan, they
Yeah.
were just asking on the both parts. correct?
I was just saying, like, I think what he was trying to say was, are we looking at a 39% increase, whether we're under a MESA agreement or whether we're not under the MESA agreement? Where both, if that rate is approved as it's been applied for,
The
would
SPL
both of
and
them,
the PL.
would both of them increase the same percentage, or would there be some difference in the percentages? Does that make sense?
Rate design is the last part that is decided in a rate case. We can't tell you what that result from the commission is going to
when
be.
a rate comes up,
That's
is-
not what we're asking.
We can't have
That's
two people
literally
talking
what
at-
she
I'm
just
sorry-
asked
I'm
me.
sorry, everybody.
Well, let me answer it.
One at a time. And right now, Mr. Ross has the floor.
I mean, the rate guy, I mean, if you can, that's fine. I just,
Yeah, I'm actually the lead attorney
Okay.
in the case, and I was trying real hard to answer her question directly, which is that is decided in the rate design portion of the rate case. We are currently scheduled, that is the last day of our 2-week hearing that is getting ready to come up, and then the commission deliberates and they issue the decision. That is when we will know the commission's decision on rate design, which decides which different tariffs have different percentage increases.
So there's a potential for both.
So,
Yes.
okay, so back, and maybe that's a good question for an attorney. So let's say, and this is a hypothetical, and I know this is probably gonna, I don't want to take it off the track, and this is 100% a hypothetical. I'm not saying anything, more than that. If the city were to say, we're not going to enter into any kind of agreement with Liberty, you say, we're going to raise your rates, and the city says, we don't have an agreement with you, we don't want to pay those, we no longer want to have a quote-unquote partnership with Liberty, what does that look like for the streetlights?
You mean if you no longer want to receive electric service for your streetlights?
Sure.
Yeah.
You can no longer receive electric service for your streetlights, although I would let your attorney advise you on that. I'm certainly not giving any advice that would imply someone should be turning off their streetlights.
And so what
You
would,
would, I believe, under the agreement, you would need to purchase those facilities, the poles and everything, if you're
the ones that
wanting
we
them.
don't own currently?
Yes, which
Okay.
is
And so who sets the price at what we would purchase those poles for?
the facilities charge is in your tariff that you're currently taking service under.
So I think the facility charge is $500,000, roughly. So you're saying the city could purchase the poles and the lights for $500,000?
I do not know that offhand in that I haven't run it all out, nor was I
So I believe
aware we should look for that.
the way that we would look at that would be, we would take all of your facilities and we would look at useful life. So when did we install it? And it's like a 27 to 30 year depreciation rate, if you will. We would identify what total costs are remaining on those, and then that's what would be billed to you.
So the
494,000.
the facility charge that you're saying is the value of the property wouldn't necessarily be the value of the property. You'd have to actually look at that and determine what the actual value of the property is. So where does in the agreement, the $494,000 come from if that's not the actual value of the property? Because that's what we're paying the percentage on.
That is the total value of the property.
Okay.
So the reason why you pay that is if a car was to come out here and hit this pole, we would come out and we would replace that pole and the light on it, and you would not see an increase in your charge because you're paying for that through the facilities usage charge. So the difference being, if you were to want to purchase that, or if you were wanting to get out of that agreement, you would need to pay us for the useful life remaining on the equipment.
And s-
That's why it would be different from your total investment.
And
And
Jordan,
so-
I might add something too. So those facility usage charges, so when the light was put back in say 1918 or whatever, the cost that it cost us to put that light in at that time is part of that facility usage charges. It did not change.
So if we
Even
have a
though
light
it-
from
even though
1918,
the-
can we pay 1918
Even-
prices?
Saying you
not-
are.
Not for the,
Yeah, so, I
That's-
mean, but if we wanted to buy them, would you then look at them and say, oh, well, it's 2025, so it's actually more than what it was? I'm just trying to.
Well,
we installed that
the-
light in 2025,
Sure,
yes.
yeah.
So if it was
Yeah.
a light that was installed in 1918, then we would say, okay.
The
that's-
useful life on that's
been
pretty
paid
good.
for.
That'd be,
That's why I'm
that'd
saying
be an
that
awesome,
number.
that'd be a really dependable light, so.
Yeah.
So how do we get a actual number of what your asset value is for the assets that you guys own that the city doesn't own? And then the question I have, is there a set rate? So let's say the city owns the poles and the lights, and we say, we're gonna contract with you to get the electricity. Is there a set rate that we would buy the electric from you guys at that's not your current one of these rates? Is there a market value rate that, hey, it's 7 cents a kilowatt hour, it's 30 cents a kilowatt hour? How do you determine if the city has, or is it one that you guys come and meter all of them?
Correct.
And then we just pay for?
Correct. We would set a meter, you would put your lights, and you would own everything behind that
So
meter.
how many lights are metered currently?
I'm not sure.
I don't think there's really a whole lot. So if you come and metered them, would the city have to pay that, or would Liberty have to pay it for the streetlights to be metered?
So
You can
so
speak
you
to what
mentioned
part
the
you'll pay
Aldrich
for.
deal, so that was that meter, right, for that deal. But as you can imagine, streetlights are scattered out all over
Sure.
the place. And so to be able to get to, you might end up looking at possibly a meter for every light, which you're paying a meter charge for every meter you have, plus you're gonna be on a commercial rate, so you're not eligible for a residential rate. The commercial rate is higher.
So what's the commercial rate?
The commercial rate runs, was it around, is it 13?
I can pull up
I
the
don't have
tariff
it
and get that
with me
for you.
right now.
So, I mean, of course, the question I have is, if the commercial rate's that, we get it metered, I'm trying to see if it's gonna come out to 123,000 or 207,000, if that is an option. My goal, I just want to explore every option. And that's the reason is, to Alderman Wilson's point, we're kind of in a tough spot. I have yet to come across somebody who's like, hey, we're really hoping to re-up with Liberty Utilities. And I apologize. I'm sure you don't like hearing that. It's a tough situation to be. And it's not any of you four who are here tonight. It's not you. It's a company that the people don't trust. You just work for that. By no means do I want you to think that any of this is personal. I've talked to you. You're very nice, and I appreciate for you being here. But it's one of those that right now, and I said it at the rate hearing, I have conversations with people who I can buy my food and medication, I can pay my utility bill, and that's a real. And people do not want to be put in that situation, and so they're looking for somebody. Hey, stand up for us. This is small apples, and we're talking streetlights. And so, but this is what people are using to look at us and say, are you going to just cave and give into Liberty, or are you going to stand and fight for us? And so I want to see if it's the right decision to continue the streetlights with you guys. But, you know, if I said, I would love to have a 2-year contract, but you guys need to guarantee we're going to get a complete and accurate bill every month, and if we don't have to pay. I'm assuming you probably would not agree to that.
I would take you up on that.
Jordan wouldn't actually
Oh,
take
really?
you up on that though. 'Cause of the envelope.
Sorry, the attorney said I could not take you up on that.
To interrupt Dusty real fast, I had one person reach out to me.
Excuse me,
Can we
just
can
a
we
moment,
scratch
one at a time. And Mr. Ross, are you relinquishing the floor, sir?
Yep.
Mr. Wilson.
To Dusty, to Alderman Ross's comment that your last one, I had one reach out to me and say, I have not had any issues with Liberty. So I wanted to make sure that I voiced her opinion out, saying 1 out of 310 of my constituents, and I'm not trying to be rude there, but she came out and she called and we had an hour-and-a-half conversation. She gave you guys praise, but she ended this as, well, maybe I'm just the lucky one. The last conversation I had today was, I don't feel comfortable, and I feel like Liberty is kind of putting people in power to get their way. Like it or not, this is the perception. The perception is saying, I don't want Liberty to have any power in our local elections. I don't want Liberty to have any say in our state representatives. I don't want Liberty to have any say in the public race case. That's the feeling that they have, you know, and like it or not, perception is everything in the world today. And so I just wanted to make sure I spoke up for that one person to say, thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing.
I relinquish my time, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Neo.
She wants
I
to.
think we
we're
have a
gonna
comment.
conversation, Mayor.
Yes, okay, please, okay.
Well, it's actually, have been wanting to answer from the very beginning to
Sure,
you,
I
Mr.
am sure,
Wilson.
yeah.
You asked about the billing issues and the expectations on when they would be fixed. I'm going to temporarily divert to say we are the people. It's not just a company. If you have a problem, you have a problem with me. You have a problem with the gentleman who you were very, very angry about that made a mistake,
Our
even though we
constituents are
said it
mad.
was a draft.
I'm not mad.
I'm mad.
Yes, he's
Sir,
back here cussing
sir,
at us
sir,
throughout the meeting.
Sir,
She wants to know who's
No.
mad. I'm mad. I'm a constituent.
we can't have outbursts from the floor. Well, sir, we will have to ask you to leave. If you wish to speak, we will give you a moment to come up and speak.
Wait.
Okay, thank you so much. Please hold your comments until,
will.
and you will be given that opportunity.
I will.
What
Go
I
ahead.
wanted to say is, everything we do is through the commission. That's where sometimes people feel like we're saying we can't negotiate with you. We legally can't. I'm not going to be recommending that my coworkers break the law and violate commission orders and violate state statutes. We cannot negotiate a rate with you. We can only provide service pursuant to our tariffs. And I'm sorry that seems then blunt, that it's just this or just this. That's the same thing as speeding. If somebody says you have to drive under the speed limit, they don't give you the choice that you can just drive 100 and not get a ticket. We're not going to violate commission orders and violate Missouri statute.
Just a moment, just,
Also have the
sir,
option
sir,
to
wait.
hold on.
No.
Can I say something?
Only if Mr. Wilson is relinquishing the floor.
I didn't have the floor. She had the floor.
No.
Yeah.
Never mind, I'm good.
And I just want to say, so we do everything before the commission. That's where everything happens, is at the Missouri Public Service Commission. I think the investigation was mentioned. That's being done in a docket at the Missouri Public Service Commission. Also before the Missouri Public Service Commission here, very recently, we filed a variance request, meaning we needed a little tweak from a rule so that we could fix some things with the billing. We certainly have never tried to hide that there are issues with the billing. We know there are issues with the billing. Everyone is actively trying to fix that. We have a new person in, Amy Walt, who looked at the system. She has significant experience with billing at other utilities before us, and specifically with SAP, our particular billing system. So this is wonderful to me. It should be wonderful to all our customers. Amy has come in and she found a way to make things significantly better for our collective and joint accounts, which means people who have more than one service on one bill, multiple meters onto one bill. And unfortunately, it is the community we're in here that has been hit the hardest with the billing issues because you have multiple services put onto one bill. So I gave Ms. Henderson by email the commission order granting those variances that we requested. As soon as we obtained those, we were able to start making a change within our system. It'll change billing dates some to get everybody synced up properly so you do not have the problems going forward with collective and joint accounts. And that order has the docket number on it, so everybody can see that. You can look and see our variance application that was filed with the commission explaining the issue with collective and joint accounts. And maybe that would help somewhat. It should give you a time frame, and it gives a little bit more of an explanation why your community was hit so much harder than other communities with the billing issues. So Ms. Henderson has that document if anybody wants to take a look at it. You can always look on the commission's website for all of our dockets. For the rate case, everything is public. All the tariffs, of course, are public. So if you want to compare metered rate to private lighting, to municipal street lighting, everything we do is public. It is wide open there on the commission's website for you to look through, and you can weigh all your options with Mr. Brown He can take you through those and show you all the differences of what's available on our tariffs. And again, that's the only way we can provide service, so everything is out there for you.
Mr. Wilson, are you relinquishing the floor? Do you have something more, please?
I'm going to let other people have questions.
Okay. Alderman Neal, did you have something that you wish to ask or say?
I do. Let me ask Alderman Ross a quick
Yes,
question.
go ahead. That's fine.
Would it be helpful for you to make your comment or question at this time, and then I can ask my questions? Okay. Well, first, I would say, just as a couple of observations, I recognize that this evening is not pleasant for you guys. I recognize that it is frustrating to hear people's frustrations with your company. I would take issue with the assertion that having an issue with the company is having an issue with you individually. I realize that that may be your perspective on it. I do not share that perspective. When I'm dealing with a customer service representative, I do not believe that that person is the same thing as the company. I don't think any of you decided to put the new billing system in place unilaterally. I don't think any number of decisions are out of your control. Any of us who've ever been employed somewhere have been a person who has had to implement or deal with decisions that were made by someone else. So I do think there's a distinction there, even though I realize that that doesn't make it easy to be here and be addressed and be in this situation. So I do think that there's a distinction there. I would also say, while I think it is a fair request that when we know about errors, we do what we can to provide you with an opportunity to address them. I would have questions about the propriety of giving customer information without the customer's permission. But I think there's also a point where I don't necessarily feel it is my job to go error hunting for someone else's organization. And it would be helpful, I think, if people, I assume your only way of IDing errors is not responsive as like a whack-a-mole approach where you only fix errors you hear about, right? I assume there's some kind of internal review to double check, to try and catch errors on your own. And it might be helpful to hear about that and not just think Liberty's customer service is waiting around until someone happens to call and tell them, hey, I haven't gotten a bill. So I think that might help people feel like they're not having customer service outsourced to the customer who's already dealing with all of the mess. Those two comments. If you want to respond to that before I get to my questions, that's fine.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
apologize.
No, you're fine.
Charlie Evans, I'm Director of Rates and Regulatory Affairs.
Thank you.
So there's a couple of things I wanted to hit on because I believe it was either Alderman Neal or Alderman Ross who asked about the effect of our proposed rates on the delta between those two that you're looking at the
Yes.
sheet. So I did that analysis, and I can tell you it does disproportionately increase the non-MESA agreement
Okay.
stance by about $6,000. That's as proposed by the
As
company.
proposed, sure.
And it's direct filing. Not going to be the final result. And if you guys have ever been part of those proceedings, there's a lot of parties that play that are, fighting over the rate design
Yep.
and that kind of stuff. So not at all, that's just what was proposed by the company on its original ask.
Sure.
The second part, so the review you talked about, and I think it's important because I've got analysts every day that work and they take a bill from every single rate category we've got, not just you guys, I mean all over, 60, 70, 80 bills a day on our electric side alone. Water and gas has the same. And so we have folks that they're providing the analysis, they're screenshotting bills, they're re-performing calculations. They are working that all the time. Anytime there's an alert, we will pull a bill, we will get with billing, we will make sure it gets fixed. So there are a ton of people, I can guarantee you, because I've got email chains every day when we're talking about it or saying this bill's good to go, marking them off the list. So I can promise you that's happening. There's a ton of people turning up work, trying to make sure that that is not an ongoing issue. So I appreciate all your comments because I do think at the end of the day, we're trying to do right for you guys. We're trying to as best we can. And we hope it's starting to show. And to the degree that you continue to have issues, I would encourage you to reach out to Jordan. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to any one of us, and we will make sure you get addressed to the right area. Because it's not just the whack-a-mole approach you talked about.
Right.
It's not. It's about going to the root cause. Once you get that error, what's causing that? How do we get to that? Because the first thing you're going to do, right, is how many people is it affecting? Okay, well now we need to triage that issue, and so that is ongoing all the time. Has been for a while now. So hopefully you guys are starting to see that pay dividends.
While I have you at the podium, I did want to follow up. So I appreciate you doing the numbers on the effect of the proposed rate increase on these two rates. From what Ms. Carter said earlier at her comments, I am assuming it is not atypical for different rates to be approved for the different sort of tariff categories. So the fact that you've, it's not a whatever rate the PSC sets is going to be the rate for all of the, 39% increase across the board. It's going to be, it could be they're like, okay, well, you get 39 on this, but you only get 27 on this, and so on and so forth. So that just to make sure I'm understanding,
Yes.
they have a piecemeal approach to how they approve those, and those numbers are independent little sort of levers that can be adjusted by that organization.
It is.
Yes?
It is.
Okay. Thank you. That I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that appropriately. I do want to real quick before I get to my questions. Looping back to the issue with the company not being an issue with the individual. So, for example, one of the things that's been brought up at several of the meetings, I think, has been people's appreciation of the local in-person customer service representative here locally. But just as having a problem with the company or the services we're receiving does not equate to having a problem with specific individuals, we don't have the liberty of creating a contract with our Bolivar customer service representative and knowing that she's in charge and she has the authority, and we know that, she wouldn't let this happen on her watch. She is very limited in what she can control. And so if we are reluctant, we would be doing business, right, with the same entity that has made decisions that we have been frustrated by. We don't have the option of whether to choose to do business with you as an individual or you as an individual. We have to talk about the company, and that means we are engaging with things that have been done at a company level. And you're the human embodiment of the company here, so you get to be the ones who receive that, and I'm sorry, and that's the way it works. So just as a clarification from our perspective, we don't get to just pick, well, we like you, so we'll do business with you individually and trust that you won't decide that we need a brand new billing system in 6 months and then we have to do all this all over again or whatever. All right, so my questions that I had, the percentage that you said for the total investment, 9% under the MESA, 18, I believe, under the non-MESA. It's calculated as based on the total investment. But that's not, because of what you said, it's almost like a service agreement as far as what it's covering. So there's never a point where we say, guess what, we've paid 9% for 11 years. We now own it. That doesn't happen because it is not payment toward a set sum. It is actually payment for service, like a service period. That is the maintenance that's required, repairs that are required for that period. Is that correct?
The way that you said that is correct, yes.
Okay. So that's helpful to understand, because I was like, well, if I pay 9% on something every year, like at some point I'm going to be like, but if it's a service agreement, more like what I would think of as a service agreement, then I understand that's a little bit different. Under the initial 10-year renewal that was sent over, there was a reference to 2 years. We could sort of revisit every 2 years, decide whether to continue. There was some kind of reference, I don't have it handy in front of me, some kind of reference to funds that would still be due and owing even if after 2 years we terminated. Can you speak to, under that proposal, what, if we got out after 2 years, under that 10-year agreement with renewable 2-year terms, what we would owe if we got out at 2 years, beyond like 2 years worth of expenses? Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
So I'm a little fuzzy on what that is, so
Sure.
I'm going to say what I think you're saying.
Okay.
And what I think you're,
Clarify what she's asking, because I know where in MESA it is.
yeah, I think it's in, so there's an article down below that references that it would be a 10-year agreement, so I think that it's between,
It's Article 2, the very last sentence ties us in that nothing in Article 5 changes, which is the facilities uses charge. So we would owe that amount every year for the entire 10 years, even if we pulled out at 2.
so again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but what I think would happen is that if you were to say I want a 2-year agreement, then everywhere where you see 10, that's going to change to 2.
I guess my question is, I want to make sure I understand what would have happened under so that I can see the difference between what does a 10-year agreement look like, what's the 2-year agreement look like. If this just means we can get out after 2 years, I don't see how that's different than a
Bliss.
2-year like I assume there's something else going on there, and I think, and you can wave at me if this is wrong. In Article 5, I believe it's the last. Is it you talking about the last sentence of Article 5?
Now, the last sentence of Article 2 ties you into the payments in Article 5.
Yes, so the last sentence in Article 5, then what you're referring to, where it says the 10 years.
So the idea that basically what it sounded like, based on our sort of our reading of it, was it sounded like sort of you pay off your mortgage early and you still, like, there's a penalty for prepayment, or you get out and you say, okay, you can end the agreement after 2 years, but you're still going to be on the hook for the 8 years that you are wanting out of. And I was trying to get an idea of what that penalty or fine or obligation would be under that initial 10-year agreement if we were to decide after one of those 2-year increments we would like to not continue. That may be more of a question for you, Ms. Carter.
Does that need to be answered by the counselor?
So I think, can you, I'm sorry, say what you were going to say, because I'm on a different path with words
Sure.
than what you were saying.
My brain is always on a different path. Let's not go into that. So being at the end of the 2 years, in the case of if we did a 2-year agreement, would be exactly the same as now being at the end of 10 years. You're here with, we have to figure out where to go from there. So at the end of the 2 years, say you just do a 2-year agreement, we're right where we are today, where we need to decide then, are you wanting to buy the facilities back and get them all metered and start going that way as a commercial customer? Are you wanting to renew, do a new Mesa and stay on the municipal street lighting? Or are you wanting to not have a contract and go to private lighting?
So just to make sure I'm understanding, if for some reason, again, this is sort of under the initial 10-year agreement that we received, if in 2 years we had solar lights up and ready to go, and we decided, thank you so much, it has been sometimes a pleasure, sometimes not a pleasure doing business with you, depending on the circumstances. We are ready to assume responsibility for providing our own street lighting. And we said we do not wish to renew at that time. There would be no additional costs to the city if we chose to terminate after the 2 years.
I wouldn't want to answer based just on that because I'd want to look into what that means. Are you truly off the grid?
Sure.
If you have solar, most people who have solar still need to be a customer.
If you want a different hypothetical, if for some reason, something where, yes, in the hypothetical, we require nothing more from Liberty with regard to our streetlights. We would like to cease receiving anything from Liberty for our streetlights, and therefore we wish to terminate that agreement. There wouldn't be, under the terms of this agreement, penalties or things we've agreed to keep paying, even if we are no longer receiving services.
So what they're saying here is that this article, this says that it will be in effect for 2 years. And then it will automatically extend every 2 years. So if they were to say they want it out at 2 years, this one ties them for, they're saying is this tied for 10 years. I think it would be the used life, where whatever part they wanted to turn off or they want it to be done with, then we would charge used life.
We would have to calculate if there would still be a leftover charge on your facilities usage.
So based on what, sorry,
The same as the buyback.
Sure. So even if we didn't want them because they are located here and you would not have further ability to use them, we would still be responsible to either continue and enter another agreement, Mesa or non-Mesa, or buy back whatever the depreciated whatever the value remaining in all of those lights.
I'd like to be honest and say I'm not certain, because I certainly don't
Okay.
want to give you the wrong answer. It'll be not just this agreement. I want to also look over at the
Sure.
tariff. And we certainly want to dot our i's and cross our t's and not give an incorrect answer while we're standing up here.
Sure, I appreciate that. I guess part of what I'm trying to understand is what is the difference between the 10-year agreement renewable at 2 year intervals and a 2-year agreement?
I don't believe there's any difference for you.
Okay,
Mr. Ross had asked about the benefit for us. It would be a benefit for us and all of our customers when we know you're going to continue service under certain terms for a longer period of time. Just like you were talking about budgeting. We, of course, have to do budgeting and planning as well. We need to know when to go in for rate cases. And so it makes a very big difference. For example, we just heard yesterday or today, a large customer looks like they're closing.
That's false news.
That is false news,
talking about General Mills?
except for that I heard it from their lawyer. But,
They're closing small little things, but
yes,
Okay.
okay.
But if hypothetically were that to happen,
Yes, hypothetically, it
Sure.
makes a big difference
Okay.
for how we budget and plan. So having a 10-year term is helpful for the company and all of its customers. Anything where we know we can plan on having that load, we're serving that load.
even if they can cancel after every 2-year interval, or is that not typical to have the 2-year?
I'm not sure I've ever seen any city have us in this situation or be asking these questions.
Well, you said we're special.
You're special. You are.
We have all kinds of questions that other
without
people
a
may have.
doubt,
Yeah.
Ms. Neal, you are special. You are all special. But yeah, as a practical matter, that is more just contract language that has been in our agreement for forever, even before me, and that's been 25 years now. So.
So can I ask you, you can tell me if I'm restating this accurately, all right, because I want to make sure I'm understanding this. What I'm hearing you say is whether we do a 2-year, 10-year with 2-year renewable, whatever, however we do it, whenever and however we decide to part ways with Liberty with regard to our street lights, whatever those circumstances, we will be responsible for paying the cost of the usable life of those 811 minus 52 or whatever it was, 700 and something.
That is what I said I'd like to check on.
Sure,
before
but
giving
like,
you the
okay,
answer.
so, and if for some reason another, I guess the only hypothetical I can think of based on what you told me where that wouldn't be the case. So whatever it costs, reason I'm saying, whatever costs we incur to be prepared to assume that responsibility ourselves would be in addition to the cost of paying those the value of those facilities is what I'm hearing her say.
Would you yield to me? Because I have a question.
I will.
Okay.
Very good, thank you.
Look at that. So if we were in the non-Mesa, would we have to pay those fees, the facility fees, if we went to a different option?
It's called a little differently among the different tariffs, which is why we had trouble giving you the comparison. It is not direct apples to apples. The tariffs are not set up the same way. But yes, you would have excess facilities under the private lighting, and you would still owe for those excess facilities.
So if today we said, thank you, Liberty, we have a magic wand that's going to light all of our streets, we no longer need your service. Today, we would still have to pay you your, facility.
I'm going to hold up the little sign that says I would like to get a chance to look back
Okay.
through
Sure.
all the different documents before we give you an answer on that.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, and then the only hypothetical, and I realize the same caveat applies, but if you can just give me based on sort of what you know right now or what you think is the case, if the change in service providers came about because another service provider assumed that infrastructure for whatever reason, that service provider would have done some kind of transaction to acquire the infrastructure, we would then be paying that provider rather than Liberty, and we wouldn't be necessarily paying for those, the usable life on them, because we would still be continuing to pay for the usable life on them, they would just belong to someone else, a different service provider. I'm trying to think of all the circumstances where we might be dealing with someone other than Liberty.
I don't want to make it even
Sure.
more difficult, but there are two different situations that
Okay.
can come up if there were to be hypothetically a sale of the services. You can sell the company, or you can sell the assets.
Right.
So it would depend. Here, we are Empire still. We are the same company with the same assets. People see us differently because of the DBA of Liberty, but nothing changed. It's just someone up above changed in the ownership structure of the entity. So it would depend. If there is truly a whole new company in here, they would have to buy our assets. If they are providing service to the public, they will also have to be a regulated utility. You can't be a cooperative under current law. You can't be a cooperative in this size of a community. And it would be, I guess, if you're a municipal provider. But other than that, yeah, there's only certain statutory exemptions. So it would be another regulated utility, like Ameren. Say, most people are familiar with Ameren. Ameren also is regulated by the commission. They have all of their tariffs. Their rates are designed under the exact same formula that ours are designed under, and they'll have the same tariffs. But it would be then a different entity up above, conceivably, who would have those tariffs.
Okay. So you have said, basically from our perspective, that we would probably not, there wouldn't be a significant difference to us whether we did a 2-year or a 10-year renewable in 2-year increments. That basically, because as Alderman Ross just alluded to, we're not even like locking in a rate. Sometimes when you want to get a 10-year agreement on your cell phone, whenever you're like, hey, I want, this is the rate I want, and I'm engaging for 10 years. You've just said if the rate comes down from the PSC, we're not locking in a rate for 10 years. It's just a matter of, I guess we know in 2 years we've already got the contract written up.
Yes, you know, as a matter of convenience, that you don't have to renew it. Like automatically, you would flip to a different tariffed rate upon the expiration of the 2 years in case we didn't get through all the things you have to do through, you know, jump through for a city to do notice and get proper signatures on time, that sort of thing. So the 2 years isn't that we have to do something every 2 years. You have to do something to stop it from renewing. So there's a convenience component to it. But as far as the substance, it is the same for the city. If it is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. So just then to reiterate, so far what I've heard people ask for information on that you have said you would like to get back to, or someone on the team has said they would like an opportunity to provide. One was what the cost would be that remaining life value. I'm sorry, I'm not going to remember the exact name of it, but how much life they have left. I think of it as the depreciated value, like basically of the lights, sort of as of right now. If the city were in a position to try and pay that and have control of that, we wanted an idea of what that price was going to be. We wanted information on what the cost would be if they were then going to be metered and charged as commercial, as a commercial customer. So if we acquired them, what that would be, so that we can be in a better position to say. And you have said that this is sort of the best deal for us. We would just like to do our homework and see, what does the number look like if we pay for this? What does it look like if we are metered commercial? But you have said that you would like an opportunity to provide us with that information. And then the third one has been this conversation. What does it look like when we finally, if we come to a parting of the ways and no longer move forward with Liberty, what does that cost look like for us, and confirming what that is? When would we be able to expect responses to those 3 questions?
So those are very big asks, except for the tariff one. Just like we handed you the comparison here with the 2 tariff sheets attached, we can very easily hand you the additional tariff sheet, which would be for the commercial rate. So that isn't hard. It is, however, having to go through the process of the 800 polls and looking at their life within the system and calculating that. That is not my area. I do not do math. I don't know if Chris, you have an estimate on how long that would take?
Well, it would take quite a bit of time because, and of course, we have limitations on how long we're supposed to keep jobs and stuff like that. So to get accurate information, like when that was installed, like we'd have the contract, but we wouldn't necessarily it might not have all the poles and the fixtures and all that broke down. So it would be pretty time consuming to go through all those SA-22 agreements to figure out what's.
So how long?
Yield for a second.
Yeah, I'll be happy to yield.
So the question I have is, option A is sign an agreement. Option B is pay more. Option C is, man, that's going to take a really long time to figure out, and we don't know how long it's going to take to get you an answer. Like, it seems like we're still going back to like, hey, pick option A or option B.
I-
You know, the question I have is, you charge us every year based off of a cost that you have assessed your property. And then if we say, hey, how much is your property worth? Well, we've got to go back and figure that out. Well, you charge us off. So are you overcharging us? Is the property?
It's a different number.
It's an accumulative amount that keeps adding up, right? But if we have to actually go look at every asset, and you know, some stuff's been changed out, so there might be a newer pole, whereas when we, you know, originally started the agreement, it was old
So
pole.
the number hasn't changed for the entire life of the agreement.
Right. So when we put that back in, like we were talking about earlier, 1918, whatever the labor was to do that, the material cost, that's what went in there.
Okay.
And so, yeah, those documents would be hard to find. And then the other part of it too would be there'd be a multiple facet of ways, you know, to serve. Like, well, maybe we could get, you know, 2 lines here and pick up those 2 poles. You put 1 meter here, or you could just do you know, thing would be awful. It'd be like a meter for every light. Well, there's no way that's good. I would be willing to bet money that if you were to go and look at that option, that would be way, way more expensive.
And I'm not saying that it's not, but
Yeah, no, and I know.
well, you know, and what I'm saying is, we have option A, which is sign a contract with Liberty. Option B, which is not sign a contract with Liberty, but sounds like we still may be on the hook for some fees with Liberty, and we're going to pay double. Or many of these other options, like, oh, they're way more expensive. Like, I would love to explore and get some hard data to say, are those numbers more expensive? And if so, you come back and say, hey, that's going to be a $2 million. Well, if we don't sign this agreement with Liberty and we get to have the partnership with you guys for the next 10 years, it's actually going to be cheaper for us to do it that, because 10 years over this is going to be over $2 million anyway. So I would like to have some actual hard data of, if we wanted to purchase the facilities that you guys have, what is the cost of it? Now, do you guys determine the cost? Does a court determine it? Because like, you guys can come in and be like, hey, it's worth $40 billion. You know, well, obviously it's not. But if that's the price you put on, is that, or does the PSC determine it? Does the Office of Public Counsel determine the value of the assets, or is it strictly on you guys to come up with a number and say, hey, this is what we think it is?
Well, if we're selling something, it would be a matter of contract, and there'd be negotiations on that. Again, we really need to have the opportunity to go back and look. That was not a question put to us before we came. So we are going to have time to go back and look through everything, including the other tariffs.
So
I would say November 3rd.
Would you give us time before we make a decision on signing an agreement with you guys or jacking up our rates to where we can actually?
So, Mr. Ross, this is
what you're
why
saying is it's not-
I take it personally, because you are saying that to me, that we would jack up your rates. We, by law, have to provide service under our tariffs. We are not jacking up your rates. You didn't renew a contract, and therefore you are now receiving service under a different tariff.
So before our rates raise, based
Our
off of
rates
the
are raised, is what she's
Okay,
saying.
so our rates are already raised. And so if we're looking at option number 3,
Says no. She says no.
so our rates aren't raised
They're
right now?
raised.
We have not flipped that
Okay, so
in
when did
our
our
system
contract
yet
expire?
to you.
September 11th.
So if you haven't flipped them over yet, now we're going on a month of our old rates.
Mr. Ross, we're trying to be a good partner with the city, and
I-
I would
and here's the thing, you're not answering my
keep doing
question.
this.
If you have to legally obligated change your tariffs if we don't have an agreement, we haven't had an agreement for a month. Have you changed your tariffs?
No, we haven't changed our
Or
tariffs.
the
We can't
tariff-
change our
the
tariffs.
tariff rate for
We're
us,
charged on.
what you're charging us. Have you changed the rate that you're charging us?
We have not computed up the new bill because we were giving the city an opportunity to
Great.
come and
So
let
give
us
an
have a
opportunity to
conversation.
explore all the avenues before you change. If you can do it from September 9th to today, can you not give us a leeway till you come back and give us the answers to the questions that we want?
If you would like to speak with your own attorney, I can't give you legal advice
No, I think
on
we
your
need-
options.
I'm not asking for legal
We're
advice.
wanting to know
Well,
what
you-
Liberty
you
wants.
can look at the
hold on.
tariffs.
You were telling us you were statutorily obligated to charge us a different rate if we're not under contract.
Yes.
Are we currently under contract?
No, you are not.
Are we currently being charged a different rate?
We have not issued a
It's a
new
yes or
bill
no.
yet.
Are we currently being charged the new rate?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm not going to be able to answer that for Mr. Ross with a yes or a no.
Can I, sorry, can I?
100%.
Okay. I don't know if this will be a helpful clarification. I realize that from what I'm hearing you say, is that Liberty is holding off on billing us pending this discussion. If we were to decide to do an agreement with Liberty under the MESA, would the 3 weeks that have passed so far between when the previous contract expired and today, would you be required to bill us for those 3 weeks under the non-MESA rate, or do you have discretion to give grace for those 3 weeks and just have it be MESA all the way through? I think he's asking, do you have that discretion
I
as a
would
company?
not call it discretion, however, that is likely what would occur if
Okay.
we were able to get a new agreement in place, because we would have that in place by the time we render your next bill.
So my question would be, if we end up, if you, for the time for you to acquire the information, collect the information that we've asked you for, takes you however long, if at that point we entered into an agreement with you, would you similarly extend that agreement? So I think, I didn't hear the date. Would you say November?
That is not going to be the total you're looking for on November
Sure.
November 3rd. I was saying we would get back to you on letting me review the
Okay.
agreements on what would be required.
Okay. So for example, I understand you're not saying you would have all the information by November 3rd, but if hypothetically that were the case, I think what Alderman Ross, I don't think it's meant to be a hostile question. I think the question is, if we then entered into agreement November 3rd, once we had some information in our hands, would the period between September 9th and November 3rd be billed as the non-MESA, or would you say, now that we're MESA again, we're just going to kind of treat it as a continuous MESA agreement?
I'm not able to answer that here. We would have to look at that, and I will talk with your attorney.
So if, for the more extensive information that we've talked about, what would be a time frame when you think you would be able to provide that information?
I will need to look and see if we are obligated to pull all of that for a hypothetical. It will be a large number of employee hours who will not be able to then do their jobs while they try to pull all that information for a hypothetical situation. So we will talk about that after tonight, knowing now that
Sure.
that is a
Hey, would
request.
you yield to me real quick?
Just give
Okay.
me a second. I assume in many circumstances, when someone is interested in purchasing an asset, they don't commit to purchasing the asset before they have a price tag on that asset. And until they've committed, I realize this is more hypothetical than like a person who's ready and just saying, let's talk price. But I would assume at any point, if someone came and wanted information to purchase, you would need to be able to collect this information for a potential buyer. And so part of the difficulty is we don't know how hypothetical it is until we have an idea of what the number is.
And I very much understand, Alderwoman Neal, that you're wanting those details. It's just a very difficult process to go through. Again, for a hypothetical, the poles are used for other things. They're used for the electric lines. We wouldn't be selling those poles to you. So it has to go part by part, and Chris was explaining to me the head part is certain number of fixtures versus the bottom part. It's not an easy process, and again, everything that happens with us is regulated. We can't dispose of assets because we are a regulated utility. We can't dispose of our assets without going to the commission for approval. And then that is a process, and they look at the price and see if we are disposing of assets that the utility needs. It's just not an easy, it's not an easy process, and it's not an easy question.
And I don't dispute that it's not easy. I feel like, and this is sort of to Alderman Ross's point before, where we had sort of option A, option B, and earlier in the evening it sounded like there was an option C. It is increasingly sounding like option C is either not actually an option or an option to grab something out of a black box that you don't get any information about. You just have to kind of open the door, what's behind door number 3, and that's, you find out when you walk through it. And so I'm trying to be responsible in weighing my options, and more what I'm hearing is there is no option 3 in a meaningful way that we can at all assess?
Again, for us, we're using the phrase options, I think, just to make it easier to talk about. It's just tariffs.
Yes.
We have various tariffs for providing service. There is a commercial tariff. You can have it metered then under the commercial tariff. So there is that tariff that would be a possibility. At least me coming here today, I did not know the city was considering that as a possibility.
Sure. And I
So
am not.
I had not looked at that yet.
I am not frustrated that you are not prepared to answer that you didn't have that information. That's fine. What I'm frustrated about is we don't have that information. There is no, and that information will never become available. That is what makes it harder. That's why I tried to say, how much time do you need? Not have it by this time, anything like that, is to try and say, in order for this to be a meaningful option, I have to at some point know what's behind the door.
And I very much understand, as Jordan referenced earlier, we talked with your city attorney and your administrator, thought we had a good conversation about the tariffs before you had the vote. The situation we're in now is you already haven't renewed your agreement, and we don't want the city to have to pay the higher rate. We are trying very hard. That's why we came here today, to have an agreement set up that lets you continue on the tariff that is the best tariff for the city. So I was not wanting to say then we'll just take however much time it takes to go through and catalog the 800 polls and the various components of those polls while you pay a higher rate on a different tariff.
But
I'm
so-
done. So
she's yielding
Nope,
to me.
I'm done.
So to that point, we have to explore all options. If this is an option, and you're like, hey, it's tough, it's going to take time, it's this. Sometimes in a partnership, part of the partnership, people have to do tough things and do things that may, you're asking us to do a tough thing with getting into an agreement with Liberty. And we're saying, hey, could we explore this option? Well, it's going to take a lot of time and manpower, and we're going to have to do this and that. Well, how come you get to ask us to do tough things, and when we ask you to potentially do a tough thing, it's, I don't know that we have the time to do that.
Respectfully, Alderman Ross, I am not asking you to do a tough thing. I am trying
I
very
wholeheartedly
hard
disagree.
for our company not to have to switch you to the other tariff rate.
And I am wholeheartedly trying to find all the options.
I have been waiting for a very long time.
I know it.
Sorry, I know it took a long time.
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to give you
Alderman
guys.
Raines,
Thank you, Mr.
please go
Mayor.
ahead.
Thank you. I would like to give context to help you guys understand maybe why it sounds to me like you feel blindsided. And I hate that you feel that way, because we've been here having very frustrating, lengthy discussions for months about our situation, our relationship with Liberty Utilities. As we've discussed, several of us, I don't remember the last time where there wasn't a day where I wasn't talking about issues with Liberty Utilities. Like, it is literally a conversation I have every day, and I know that happens to several of us here on the board. It is exhausting. We have our customers who their Liberty utility bill is more than their mortgage. They can't pay, they either have to pay for their food and their medication, or they have to pay for their utility bill. I have solar. If I didn't have solar, I don't think I could afford my Liberty utility bill. I'm a realtor, as are other aldermen on the board. We have clients that won't purchase homes that have Liberty utilities. We lose a business in this community because people purchase homes outside of our city because they want to be on other electric companies. That is how much this company is impacting us. I don't know if you can grasp the weight of that, but it is massive. When we have people on fixed incomes that live in 700 square foot apartments that are only 2 years old, and their utility bill is $300. $300 for 700 square feet in a brand new facility. That is wild to me. And then you're talking about raising rates. We have customers with, literally, every day I'm hearing, my bill was messed up. I don't know how much my bill is. My bill was X amount. Like, it's outrageous and it's insane. And like I said, I'm exhausted. You can tell, I think all of us are emotionally exhausted. So when you come here and you hear our frustration, you hear the passion and the emotion behind it, it's because we're tired. We care about the people that live in this community. We care that they can't afford their electric bill. And a lot of us, we're there. Like, and I also wonder, okay, can we switch? What is the impact of solar? So for me, if the rates change, I get the higher rate because I have less usage. So then I pay even more. But do you guys give me more when I give you power back into the grid? Like, those are questions too. And I have residents that ask that. And I don't have answers, but
that is also tariffed. If you do want to be able to give them the answer, that is exactly spelled out in a tariff that is based on a Missouri statute that sets the exact formula for the rate for solar customers. It's called net metering.
Okay.
It is prescribed again by statute and then by our tariff that follows the statute.
So when we're talking, and when this franchise or this discussion came up, this agreement about our streetlights, the conversation has been, do we continue having a relationship with this company that is hurting our residents? What does that mean to our residents if we continue to have a relationship with a company that is causing them damage? And, we have invited you guys, I don't know to how many meetings, to come and speak here, and you haven't come. I mean, so many times we've invited you to please come, please answer our questions, please support and help us. You've had your own meetings.
And Alderwoman Raines, I apologize in that I have attended every time I have been asked to be here. I sat there, I've sat here, I've been there. I've been at every meeting that I have been asked to come to. To my knowledge, every one of my coworkers has attended every meeting they have been asked to attend.
Yeah, I don't know who was asked, but I know that we've reached out to Liberty reps multiple times to have you guys come to our meetings.
The last time was for our August 26th meeting, I believe.
So even just recently that this has happened and no one has been here.
The one that we responded that we could not make our schedules work, and that's why we can't make this one.
Okay, there have been, but even prior to that, I mean, I'm talking months. Probably the last 2 years, this has been a situation where we've okay, Liberty is still a conversation in our daily lives. Let's have a rep come and let's talk about this. You guys have come a few times, but it's been on your own accord for your, the PSC, the public hearings and all that. So I hope that helps you see some context in our frustration. And I hate that you feel like it really does seem like you're blindsided by some of this, but
I am confused. I'm confused when you use phrases like you want to be our partner, you've tried to work with us. And I will answer that honestly. Partners generally support each other. I can tell you in other communities, if someone comes to a council person, a mayor, then we get a call and we have an opportunity to work that out. They're not the same ones leading discussions on social media or encouraging negative feelings and negative actions toward the company. There's certainly misunderstandings, apparently, like Mr. Wilson starting out very angry that we made yet another mistake when we very clearly labeled it as a draft. We were just trying to get back to you as soon as we possibly could. This isn't the final amount. This isn't a bill. This is a draft. It will be more than this. But he began the meeting by saying, how could we possibly do business with a company that would make this mistake? So it is confusing. I personally was certainly blindsided by you not renewing the MESA, in that I met with your attorney and your city administrator, and Jordan and I both said, please contact us. If there are any other questions or concerns or issues, and we will meet again, we would be happy to talk with you. There are emails on that, and there was a phone call. And then the next thing I knew was I got the link to your meeting where you decided not to renew it at the last minute. So yes, there is some blindsiding there.
Okay.
I attended every town hall. I attended every public hearing. And I sat there and heard from every customer throughout our service territory. I've read the complaints. I am the attorney that responds on all of the complaints. I very much hear. And if you look at the testimony in our rate case, again, I encourage you to look more in the commission dockets. I think you have the perception that things are kept secret, that you don't have a look into how we spend our money or how we do our planning, and it is all public. It is all there at the commission. I encourage you to look at the testimony in our currently pending rate case about the actions that have been taken and how those that more appropriately should be talking other than the attorney, the actual people involved with customer service, they very much understand your concerns. I mean, just so much so. That is why I take it personally. I know Charlie's boss, takes it personally. We all very much take it personally, and we hear you and we understand the frustrations, and we are literally doing everything we possibly can to fix it as quickly as we can so you are getting accurate bills. There is truly no more hours we can put in. And we very much understand.
Okay, thank you. I really wanted to give you that context to help you kind of understand maybe the temperature of the room. And I've just lost my train of thought.
Want to come back?
Yes, I will
Want to yield the floor now?
Yes,
and
I
then
will
come
yield
back?
the floor.
And I'm kind of a
Yeah.
leader, wrap-upper person as the attorney. I can just say what I have so far as the takeaways. I need to look at the various tariffs and the provisions on when a MESA terminates and the options that would be available to a city when a MESA terminates. We will get back to you with that. I would say roughly a month. We do start a rate case hearing next week, and I will be living at my office in Jefferson City for those 2 weeks. But on the legal end, that I will get back to your attorney, Mr. Brown, with what Liberty believes happens at the end of that. That would then be up to your attorney to decide if he agrees with that or not. But we will get back to you with that. Jordan, who should be the one up here, is always available to you. So if you don't have other more legal-oriented questions, I will make sure and get Jordan back up here if there is more.
Would you mind saying
Mr. Wilson, go ahead, please.
I appreciate Ms. Rain's comments because it's true. I'm going to try to say this not in the angry, aggressive way that you kind of were portraying me, but in April, on the last time you guys were here, your first sentence of your natural gas guy said, "Liberty is not for sale." I've heard multiple times that, oh, you guys want to buy from us? So I would like to hear if buying Liberty's portion of this is an actual thing or is it not?
So the utility is not for sale, and that
I'm
was.
not talking about the utility. Tonight we were talking about streetlights. So.
Oh,
we're
I'm sorry. It
talking
was Mike Beatty, who I believe you are calling our gas guy. He is a top officer in the Central Region, which is why I suggested that he come with me that day. That was the highest level officer I could find to make sure the city of Bolivar knew we were taking it as seriously as we could and to make sure we had a top person there to answer your questions. He spoke honestly and made sure, because we had heard some rumblings before we got here about a purchase or if the city wanted to buy the assets back. And he wanted to make it clear we don't want to sell. And if you recall, the next thing he said after that sentence was, because we love serving in the city of Bolivar and we want to stay as a partner with the city of Bolivar. It wasn't a negative that we're not for sale. It was that we wanted to keep providing service here.
Okay, so Miss Alderman Neal here, we were talking about, if this magic wand happened, we can buy it, or if there's somebody else wants to buy it. So is there an opportunity that it could be for sale?
The streetlights.
The streetlights.
The streetlights. Again, I will have to look, and we'll have to look one by one,
Sure,
which
it's
is why it's
possible.
going to take time. We certainly cannot sell you our facilities to provide electricity, nor would we want to. So it would be if you have poles that are just for streetlights.
My second question out of three is, we've mentioned, and I might get your name wrong, and I'm so sorry, Jordan, right? So you all of you said, hey, if you have questions, reach out to me. I would love to have that access to phone numbers, email, or whatever, and I'm going to use it because when I get a call tomorrow of saying, hey, I got this issue, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm gonna throw them your way. So if we can get that information for the board, that'd be great.
Yes, and my cell phone is on my email that I have sent to both your city administrator
I don't know
and
if
your
the constituents
attorney.
want to talk to a lawyer.
They
Honestly,
don't,
I'm sorry.
but everybody can text me if they want, if they have an issue. I gotta say, I have a pretty good record with getting
I'm gonna
the
let Jordan do
concern to the
customer
top
service part.
person.
She seems like she can
Probably
handle
gonna send
it.
it to me, but that's okay.
That's fine. So and
We
then
all
my-
want you to reach us.
My last comment and question was, you keep referencing that I came angrily about the numbers. We just talked about, we have a budget, just like you guys have a budget, right? So if we don't get the right numbers, which again, I'm not saying it's your fault, and please don't take it your fault. But if we go with the original number, that's a lot of funds that we have to make up if we go that route. But now we're saying, hey, this is a new number.
I will just be very blunt. I cannot imagine your city administrator or anyone handling your finances would try to rely on a document that was labeled as draft. This will not be the number.
But we still have to go off of that because that's the numbers that we have have in front of us to say this is a possibility. I can't go to the grocery store and say I want to spend $700 worth of groceries when I can only spend $300 worth of groceries. So anyways, I yield my time back.
And Mr. Wilson, we provided the tariff, and if you wanted to compute the exact amount, you could go through the tariff rates, which is what we then did after the
And we
fact.
greatly appreciate it.
She's been waiting a long time.
Okay, Mr. Ross, or Alderman Price?
I just have one, it may be quick, it may be long, I don't know. Let's say there's a magic wand and we listen to what the people are saying. The word solar's been tossed around a lot amongst the population. So if we were to decide to go with all solar streetlights, we no longer need your lights. Well, if that was ever a possibility, we'd probably get our own poles and put those up too. So now you have poles and you have lights that we don't want, we're not gonna pay for. What does that look like at that point?
So I
come
believe
in and
that
get 'em?
that's what that looks like is used life. So you were to call and you were to say, I do not want this anymore.
Uh-huh.
If it was one we installed 30 years ago, we'll come yank it out. If it's one that we installed 10 years ago, then we would charge you for the 17, 20 years, whatever our depreciation
Forced
rate
to
is.
do a buy.
Yes.
Yes,
And 2 years is the shortest period? that
2
you
years
would
is
do
the
a Mesa?
shortest period on the Mesa. Correct.
And that's by PSC rule.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Ross?
I don't know if you can answer this, but I'll holler while you're out here. So the concern I had was, Diane?
Diana, yeah.
Diana, when she was up here and she said, so my homework is I need to get the 2 tariffs. Like, there was also another part of the homework, like, hey, can we get a number of what it would cost to buy the poles? Like, I'm trying to get some reassurance, or is it like you guys are gonna leave here and be like, we're never gonna do that. Like, and if you are never gonna do that, just say, hey, we're never gonna do that. But like, is there a true option where we can get an actual number if the city wanted to buy out the streetlights, what that would be? Or is it gonna be one of those, we're gonna leave here, we're never gonna look into it, and we're truly only options are tariff A or tariff B?
What I can say is exactly what they have said. To get that information down to a granular level, it would take a lot of time and a lot of effort. Am I saying we won't do it? No. Am I saying that we expected to have to do that? My answer to would be no, I didn't expect that it would come to this. So it would,
If we said, we are going to cancel our contract with Liberty, and you said, okay, well, we're going to charge you for those lines.
We would be in the exact
Would you
same
then
boat.
be- And so
We
may
would be in the
not-
exact same
It
boat.
would be years and years potentially down the road before we actually get a number of if we canceled it. So, I mean, it's the same process. If we were to say, come get your lights, okay, we're gonna charge you for those, it would be the same process that you're telling us now is gonna be so painstakingly that you don't necessarily wanna do it.
Correct. Both of those scenarios are the same.
Yeah, then one last question, and I don't know if you know this, is there any other public utility in the electric side right now that is under an active PSC investigation?
I can't speak to that. I don't know.
Okay.
Do you,
Does anybody
does Diana know?
know if there's any other utilities that's under an active PSC investigation?
Again, all information is on the commission's website. It is all public. You can look up under investigation. It would be unusual for there to be a time when there's not at least one utility with an investigatory docket, to make sure we're all clear on that. That's what it is an investigatory docket. Gas utilities frequently are in there. I can't tell you, again, unless I pull up EFIS, which is the
we don't have-
electronic
we don't have
filing
this.
system.
That's fine. Sorry, then what, if, let's say, I don't wanna use the word hypothetical, 'cause let's say we do buy the streetlights from Liberty. Do we then have to get our electric from Liberty, or could we get that from another service provider?
I am not aware of another service provider that could be serving in the middle of your city.
If there was, would we have to go with Liberty, or could we use another service provider?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not aware of the ability for another provider to lawfully provide in the middle of your city.
So I will take that if there was, then we probably could go with them, but since there's not, you're saying there's not another option. But if there was another option, we could go with another option. But you're just saying there's
Under
not
cur-
another option right now.
No, I'm saying under current law, I'm not aware. Again, you'd want to ask your own attorney, but under current law, I'm not aware of another utility being able to lawfully provide service in the middle of your town.
Mr. Sagasser.
This is where I get frustrated with your company. We were given this contract in August and said, take it or leave it. It's 10 years, 2 years, and you can cut it in 2 years, but you still got to pay the 10. Okay? So then we have our meeting the day before it, in September, the day before it's out. Nobody from Liberty comes down to talk to us, and then you wonder why we voted not to renew. And then you come down here and say, oh well, it's got to be at least 2 years, but we'll go 4 years, we'll go 6 years. This is what frustrates our citizens, is that you say one thing, then you do something else, then you say something else, and I'm just sitting here going, okay,
Sir, that's just not true. I'm not sure what else to say. I don't
We
know if you
got
all
the
record
We got
calls.
our contract in August, at our August meeting. Nobody was here. We asked for somebody to come down here for our first meeting in September, so we could vote on it. And that was the day before it was due. It was nobody showed up, and then you guys go, I don't understand why you didn't renew.
So if I was ever offered an invite to come to that meeting, I am unaware of it, to be here specifically to speak about that agreement. I did not know that that was even on the agenda until I started getting the emails and the text messages of, did you watch the meeting? I had no idea that it was on the agenda. Again, we spoke to Thomas and to the attorney, and at that point in time, so a 10-year agreement is what is typical. So that's why, because we've done this for the past dozens and dozens of decades, we put together the same contract, because this is what is typical. If the attorney wanted, if it at any time wanted to redline and make any changes, that is possible. We could have had that communication, but that's not how our original conversation went. So
But that's not. That's not how it was presented to us. It was, here's the contract. You guys either voted yay or nay.
well, and again, I'm not going to say that that's not how most wouldn't do it, because this is a standard 10-year contract that we do every 10 years and that we've done for the past dozens and dozens of years. So I'm not going to say that that's not how they didn't present it. That's exactly how I presented that to them. Hey, we have the renewal. Here it is. If there's any questions, let me know. And nothing was redlined. Nothing was spoken of at that time that there would be any curiosities into any other options.
Well, it just goes back to, I know you're in customer service, and Liberty just does not have, with the city of Bolivar and the citizens of Bolivar, if they would rate your company on customer service, I would say there'd be a negative in front of the number, okay?
Okay.
And I yield.
Alderman Neal.
I have, I guess, a question and it may be a question for another time, but I do want to offer an opportunity. We're hearing representatives of Liberty characterizing the communications that they've had, and then us characterizing the communications. I, for one, have not communicated directly with Liberty. So my perspective on this is based on conversations, and there has been another, like, staff and the attorney have been the in-betweens. And so I realize you were saying this is what we've experienced. I want to give staff and or our attorney an opportunity to weigh in. And if the way Liberty is characterizing the communications is incorrect, to give you an opportunity to address that. And if our understanding of what those communications were is incorrect, I would like an opportunity to know that, because I don't want to be thinking that Liberty responded in a certain way or failed to respond. If there was a breakdown in communication and what we thought was being communicated to them wasn't being communicated to them, I would love to have a better picture from staff or Don as far as what that communication has looked like. And I don't know if you want to do that, if you want us to have that discussion later after people from Liberty are not here, but we've got a version of events and we've got our understanding, and I would love to be able to reconcile them and have a better idea of what happened.
Mr. Elford, do you want to wait till later, or you want to characterize that at this point? Or?
No, I mean, I don't think there's a breakdown in communication with Liberty as far as my perspective. I mean, she admitted that they couldn't make the last meeting. I forgot what date that was on,
Right,
and that's because she wanted to make sure that she had certain people attending that. So that is true, and she told me that she couldn't make it. And then after that point, I've been reaching out to her to arrange another time as soon as we could to meet, and that's why we're here today.
So you do not perceive that there was a lack of response or an inappropriate response or an inappropriately delayed response?
I mean, we communicated via email, and she responded of what their status was.
Okay.
So I guess, so I appreciate that. But to clarify, I guess, for the board, what I'm hearing Liberty say, the representatives, sorry, I just said I wouldn't treat people like they were a company. Oh, sorry. What I hear the representatives from Liberty say is they presented this proposed contract, standard one that they present all the time, and that was the last thing they heard until that contract was rejected. What I'm hearing members of the board say is, we have misgivings, we have questions, we thought someone was reaching out to Liberty to say, we have questions, we want to know what happened, whether Liberty is willing to negotiate on this. And I'm trying to figure out if there were in fact communications with Liberty beyond the initial, do you have the draft of the contract? Yes, we've received the draft of the contract and we'll give it to the board. did any additional conversations happen with Liberty about that prior to our decision not to renew? Or our failure to decide to renew, since it was.
I don't believe so.
Accurate.
Don, do
We did
you,
not reject
what's your recollection? I mean,
If the board wants me to go into it, I certainly will.
Would you advise that we not ask you to go into it?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'm looking at an email dated Monday, June 30th from myself to Jordan Bollinger and Diana Carter. It reads verbatim, June 30th. Good morning, Jordan and Diana. The city is in the process of reviewing the updated street lighting agreement and looking into options that the city may or may not have on this regarding negotiating options and proposed revisions. And the city would like to take its time and make sure that the city has the right decisions for the city and its residents. Long story short, would Liberty be willing to enter into a short-term extension to the current street lighting agreement for a period of an additional 6 months from the September expiration? I believe that would give us time to first do our due diligence and then to have time to actually negotiate with Liberty. Would this be possible on Liberty's side? Please let me know as soon as possible. Thank you. On the morning of July 2nd, 2025, I received an email back from Jordan that says, good morning, I will get with Diana on this one. Thank you. That's the end of my chain. So we did try to reach out. We tried to negotiate. We tried to get short extensions to the agreement. I didn't hear back. So,
Was there any additional, other than that exchange?
well, all I'm going to say is I don't agree with the characterization
Okay.
that we didn't try to reach out and that Liberty didn't know that we had issues.
Okay.
That we wanted to negotiate.
No, I think that is part of the context that I am trying to understand. Because I realize that to some degree, our discussions here get distilled down to staff understanding of what we want, and then that gets implemented, and I just wanted to try and track as much as I can if that message got all the way through.
And then us reaching out to reaching out to Liberty was based upon discussions that we
Yes,
had
no, I
had.
remember discussing the possibility of the extension to give us more time to explore options. So thank you, that is helpful.
Thank you, Dawn.
To know, at least that one specific example. Do we know, Thomas, I think this would probably be more of a Thomas, other than the September meeting that we just had like a week and a half ago, have there been meetings related to this issue specifically where we have asked Liberty representatives to be present to discuss this?
I don't recall.
Okay, I know a lot of the discussions, because this involved a contract, I know a lot of our discussions took place in executive because we tend to want to discuss the terms of a contract without that being out in the public, because that can affect the deal that you get, right? If you're talking about all of the things you might, we'd be willing to go this low, or this is our maximum price. We don't want to have all those conversations out in public. So a lot of those conversations do happen in executive. I don't remember specifically instructing staff to invite Liberty to any of those discussions. But I did want to ask if there have been opportunities, if there have been times when we have reached out. So you're saying with regard to this issue of the renewal of the streetlight, there has not been a time you recall reaching out to Liberty and Liberty declining to attend other than the end of September?
That's my recollection right now.
Do you recall other times we have invited them for other matters that they have failed to appear?
I not to my recollection, no. I don't think so.
Okay, those were my questions.
Mr. Ross.
So, if we send an email in June saying, hey, we're discussing it, we're looking at options, I don't know how blindsided 4 months of preparation is on that topic. So that's just my statement on that. So I don't know that we can say, hey, we were blindsided, we didn't know, and clearly you knew about 4 months ago. Question number 2, I'm going back to where I'm beating the dead horse. The price of the streetlights. If the city were to say tomorrow, no thank you, Liberty, come get your streetlights, you guys would inventory them out and come up with a number. If we gave you that number, does the city then own all of those streetlights?
We'll have to check tariffs.
So
It's exactly what Diana said, that she was going to look back at the tariffs to see how that would
so
work.
The tariffs will say, like, if they buy out, they own it, or?
That, yes, so if you
Okay.
bought them, then you would own them. That
Sure.
would be
So-
yours.
So if we said, hey, Liberty, thanks but no thanks, and you come in and you inventory all your stuff, would you turn your streetlights out tomorrow, or would you wait till your inventory was done and provide service till then?
I can't answer that, Dusty.
Is
That
there
would be a decision that goes way above my head.
Sure. Is there somebody that we could talk to that could answer that question?
I will speak to the president of the company tomorrow.
Okay. So potentially, if you guys provide service, inventory your stuff, we buy it, then we can take it over. We have the number. So, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how's the best way to get a number of what you guys value it at.
And
So
and I'm sorry, you said you beat a dead horse. We'll take that away and we'll go back to the team and we'll figure out how long is this going to take us, and we'll get back to you and we'll get you a number.
And here's, I've just been trying to get that answer
And that,
for like.
but I feel like that's what
45
we've
minutes.
said.
I
But
haven't had that
but
answer.
we've said that. Chris had mentioned that it would take time and we'd have to.
Take time, and then it was like, hey, we can't answer that. Then when you said.
It will be a very difficult
Sure,
task.
but
That's
there
what
was
we've
never a, hey,
said.
we will actually do it. And then it was, our homework tonight is we're gonna look at the tariff. It was never, we're going to actually see what the cost would be, so.
Well, I think one of the comments that was made was whether they were required to provide that information. And so what I took from that was, if it turns out that you do not have an obligation to provide that information, then we would not be receiving that information. If they're not required to invest their time and man hours to acquire that data for us at the level of seriousness that our inquiry
And if we
is.
say, thanks but no thanks, come get your service, they're gonna have to do that man hours and labors anyway to get a price to tell
Right.
us what it is.
And that's
we're
what,
going to owe them.
and that's why she said it was,
Sure.
depending on how hypothetical it was. If it was we're trying to find out how much money to collect, as opposed to how much money we might collect under hypothetical circumstances at some point in the future. And I don't know at what point the PSC would treat those two things as different, or at what point you transition from hypothetical over to serious inquiry. But that was my understanding of what Ms. Carter was saying, was that because of the investment of time that it would be, they would want to see if they were required to do that.
That you said, if we said, hey, thanks but no thanks, you could potentially find the answer if you guys would shut the lights off tomorrow or keep them operational until you gave us the cost of what it would be to pay for the assets that you guys currently have.
I think what we would do is immediately move you to the private lighting tariff, and then yes, we would have to do an investigation to identify that number.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Have we exhausted physically and everything else, the process for the evening? Further questions? Further comments? Do you
Mr.
have-
Mayor, I do believe we had a citizen ask to.
Yes, we have two citizens that wish to make a comment, I believe. Would you care to step forward, sir?
Is there a time limit, Mr. Mayor?
Well, just,
Oh, this won't take long.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure you knew so you could
Yeah.
plan
Okay.
accordingly.
My name's Don. I want to thank all the aldermen for standing up for us citizens. I can't believe there's 2 or 3 taxpayers here out of
There's a lot on
16,000.
mine. There's a lot on mine.
Okay.
30.
Keep up the good work. Stand up for us. We're your boss. Don't never apologize to anybody for wanting a number. That's what we hired you for. So I appreciate you. Appreciate you, every one of you. As far as I'm concerned, cut the head off the snake. Make them give you a number. And if we can afford it, buy it and do it. Be done with it. The quicker we're done with them, the better. They've not answered one question tonight. Typical Liberty. They haven't answered nothing. Run around. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
Time.
Mr. Like I didn't know and just couldn't spit it out.
So my name is Steve Skopek. I think everybody knows
Hi,
me, or
Steve.
most everybody, except the mad guy back here. But
I know you.
anyway, I just want to give my perspective, not saying what you should do or you shouldn't do, but some things that you need to keep in mind, in my opinion. And the fact is that you've talked about buying the lights. Well, most of the lights, or a lot of the lights, I assume, are on the utility poles of Liberty. So without having that pole, they would either probably have to charge you a pole charge or meter it, and you surely don't want it metered because there's no way to get. I know at my place where I worked, we have a $30 minimum charge on a meter, so that's a lot more than what the light is. And I'd like to reference Mr. Lee here. When we were at a meeting the other day, he talked about the solar. They were talking about putting one in, and he said the light would be $10,000 per light. So I did a little figuring, and that's about $8.5 million just to install the lights. The other fact is that where would you put them? So most of the places where you have lights now, there is already utility poles or something in the way. So you would either have to put them out in the street somewhere or try to get Liberty to move their poles or their facilities. So, and as far as the buying the option, I'm sure you don't really want to own those lights, because working for a utility for so long, those lights are not a money-making proposition. I wouldn't be surprised if Liberty wouldn't be just more than happy to give you the lights if they could. So you have, it looks to me like only two options. Sign the contract and go with the lower bill, or go with the higher priced lights without a contract, or try to do it yourself. And as Mr. Ballard stated the other night, he was probably the only one I've seen that made a really intelligent statement about the lights, and
Thanks,
that was that if you did it, it would take probably 2 to 3 years to do it. So I guess that would depend on what Liberty said about if they would go along and shutting a few lights off at a time, or if the city would have to go completely dark in that process. So what I've heard here tonight is you're demeaning Liberty's payment, the billing process. Their service is good. I don't think you can hear anybody say that they don't provide good service to the city. So it's just the billing. So there's two different issues, in my estimation. Everybody knows that the billing is bad. No getting around that. But the lighting street lights are a different issue. So I'm just giving my perspective on what I think about that. And if you can correct me, isn't that what you said about 10 grand? You might get them cheaper if you did a whole lot of lights.
For the location that I was speaking to the Planning and Zoning Commission related to, there was a quote given for roughly $10,000. There are some cheaper options or different, aspects there.
But then they would have to be installed, and it would take a long time. So I was on this, just for the Liberty folks, I was on this council for 20 years, so I know a little bit about it, and I worked for Southwest Electric Company for 47 years, so I know a little bit about the electric part. So I don't think, even though you're mad, and I know you're mad, but when you go to make a decision regarding the city and its goodwill, or you shouldn't vote being mad. You should vote on the facts and what's right, and not what you're mad about. So that's just my perspective on it. And you can do what you want.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, I believe that we have had a very, very interesting and I hope fruitful and enlightening conversation. Mr. Skopek, thank you very, very, very much for bringing your wisdom to us. I think it was a message that needed to be heard. There is a lot of anger, and decisions. There anger and pride, and decisions made in anger and pride are virtually guaranteed to be disastrous. And I hope that we kind of keep that in mind. With that, I do believe that I will, do we need to have an executive session, or shall we not punish ourselves any further?
That's it's up to the board. That's a board.
The board, do we want an executive?
Yes, please.
I would say yes.
Okay, well, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
All right, I make a motion that following a 5-minute break, we go into executive session pursuant to RSMO 610.021 subparagraph 1, legal actions, cause of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorney. And also thank you to our representatives from Liberty for coming out. I know this has not been pleasant and it's been a challenge, but we appreciate you being here because it would have been a lot harder to get anything accomplished without you here. So thank you for coming.
That requires a second, I take it.
Second.
And a roll call, yes, I keep forgetting a roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Price.
Aye.
Ross. Sagaster.
Aye.
Rains.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
By a vote of 7 ayes and 0 noes, we will take a 5-minute break and be back in executive session, which is not an executive session at all. It's a closed session. No, it isn't. You.